be stress, it can be financial, it can be marital, it can be legal wellness. There's a lot of different things that encompass this wellness bucket that we'll talk about today that could be affecting your employees in different ways that you might not ever think about. We always think about dietary and fitness. That's the go-to. We're going to talk about a couple of different ideas. But it begs that first question. Why do we even get involved as employers? We're here to build and sell widgets, right? So should we be a counselor? Should we be a fitness instructor to our employees? Why should we do this? In my experience, it can help with minimizing absences, presenteeism where we're there, but suddenly I'm dealing with a problem that has kind of put me in a funk. And I'm sitting at my desk thinking about an emotional problem that is driving me crazy. If I don't have an outlet, am I going to be as productive as I should be at work? No. I'm there, but I'm not. So it can help with presenteeism when we provide outlets. It can increase performance. One of the biggest pushes is establishing health routines. We want to get people into a regular rhythm. My whole goal today is not to try to change everybody overnight and have these drastic diets and drastic fitness programs. It's to establish small little steps that stick. A big driver in the HR community is a culture, and this can also play right into your culture. And last, what we really care about as employers, especially if we're a large group with experience-rated rates or self-funded, this can curb claims cost. That's why we should do it. Wellness has been a big thing for a lot of years now. It's transformed into a lot of different areas, but I clearly remember probably 15, 16 years ago when a carrier was rolling out a wellness program. And that's exactly how I felt. I'm sitting in the crowd, and this insurance company is telling me how much I should exercise, how much I should eat, what I should be doing, and you've got to prepare for that reaction that no one's going to tell me what to do. I turn into that 5-year-old immediately, right? You just push back. You have to be prepared to have that same reaction with the employees with any program that you adopt. Prepare for that reaction and kind of bring it right out front. That whatever program that we roll out is going to be completely private. Your privacy is respected. Also, the concern could be, if I don't participate, is this going to be held against me? Don't let those walls build up, because some people won't even say anything. They're just going to walk away and think all of those thoughts. So I like to get them right out in the front. The participation should be voluntary. And that should be brought up right in the beginning. We want you to participate, and we're providing this opportunity, whatever plan, ideas that we roll out, and we hope that you participate with the group. And organically, in the right settings, you can see that happen. It happens naturally. Some of the things we have to think about, though, as an organization is workplace constraints. So within your organizations, is everyone within one office? Do we have multiple offices? Do we have work from home? Do we have traveling? We have salespeople that are all over the place. So when designing programs, that is definitely something that you have to think about. How does it apply to me? Because with all of you here today, it is definitely not a one-size-fits-all. It's looking at your organization and saying, what have we done? What have we tried? What's worked? What hasn't worked? And what are we going to try next? It's always just getting to that next piece. In terms of making it work, it is a constant pull. Based on your workplace is the first part, but it's getting your company to back it. I have seen programs go in place where human resource has been really behind it. They're beating the drum. But if the company leadership does not support it and or participate, you can see it fall flat on its face really quickly. So I would always beg you to try to get multiple leaders involved. They don't have to be the forefront, but they should be there to kind of say, I'm going to do this too. It's not do as I say, It's do as I do. It could be possible to do incentives. And we'll talk about some of these different things, but it could be a premium incentive. It could be gift cards. It could be an extra PTO day. So there's a lot of little endorsements that you could do as a company that they're helping you with potential claims, with potential lowering absences, that maybe we throw something back to them. Sometimes it could just be recognition. So I wouldn't immediately go to an incentive. It could just be recognizing, here's what we did as a group, and we'll talk about that. Also, it's looking at champions. Has anyone ever heard the term champion when talking about wellness? They are pivotal. You might not even know who the champion is, but as you're going through the process, you're going to see a few that are just going to rise up. They'll help you with the plan, and we'll talk about that. I think it's also real important is when we're conducting these plans is add legitimacy to it. You know, if we do what I mean by that, if you have a normal company meeting, maybe it's weekly, maybe it's monthly, I would beg you to insert the wellness updates into that normal meeting, into that newsletter, into your regular communication. Don't make it a separate piece. Because for those that are not engaged, when they see that email come across, or you have a meeting that's just exclusively for wellness in its infancy, they could just disregard it and say, this is not for me. I don't want this. But if you make it as a part of that regular docket of business that we're going to discuss, so here's budgets, here's prospects, here's what we're working on, here's in the funnel, etc., and then here's an update on where we're at with wellness. It adds a huge amount of legitimacy to the plan and will help them. So the big question that I always get when I'm meeting with prospects and employers is where do we start? You know, and a lot of times we go right for that grandiose idea of we want to go to this big plan and we're going to spend X amount. I would beg you. I want everyone to start with no cost or low cost. We want to see what is working before we start putting any money behind it. Because there's a lot of different activities that you can spend a lot of money and get no results. And I don't want you to get chicken winged later to say, what did we get for $20,000? How are we proving that ROI? So there's a lot of no cost or low cost things that you can try first that give you a lot of information. Some of my partners have done surveys with employees. So they'll ask, what would you want to do? Do you want to do a physical in terms of like a step-a-thon or a biggest loser? I'm indifferent on surveys. I think as a group, if you've been at the company for a while and you know what that culture is, you can kind of look into your company and say, here's what I think would be a good place to start. I'm noticing that quite a few people are taking walking lunches or they're doing walking meetings. That I think what we should do is start with steps and give us a common goal. We'll talk about that, but look inside your company and you're going to know best what you think would work. Really, the whole goal today is identifying, if you've never started, here's a few things to try. If you've tried in the past and these haven't worked, here's some other ideas. It's just trying to get you to sharpen the pencil to start somewhere, because this is not going away. It's becoming a bigger and bigger piece to your healthcare package and to your budgets. So in terms of no cost, there are so many things that carriers are providing that you might or might not be aware of. Some of this information is happening organically. So member mailings, this is something, I still throw it in that wellness bucket. Has anyone seen communication recently directly from the insurance company or the TPA, specifically to a member because of a diagnosis or an RX that's been prescribed? So I had a call last week, and this is kind of the same token is getting out in front of it. Local company mailed one of our human resource partners information, then called or just called them directly and said, we found out that you're taking this medication, do you know X, Y, and Z about it? And we live in the day and age of data theft, of security issues, and her first reaction was, somebody has my information. So you have that concern. We got past that, talked to the insurance company, they have to mail out something first to get that wall, to allow that member to take that call and properly do it. Their whole goal is making sure that when there's a new diagnosis, how many times have we been in the doctor's office and been told that something is wrong, here's a new medication, here's what I want you to do. They tell you all that, but then you walk away and say, what did they just say? You know, you're kind of shocked in some cases. Maybe you don't want to believe it. So that follow-up call is happening organically with many companies so that they have a secondary outlet. Because can you easily call up your doctor? Maybe your PA you could get on the phone. But how many people are just doing what they think they heard? That secondary call is to make sure they understand the medication and how to use it. And number two, there was a generic available which helps us with claims costs. That's something that's happening. I'll throw it in that wellness bucket. Disease management is the same thing. Diagnosed with a major heart problem, cancer, etc. That is a call that's coming directly from one of the PAs inside the insurance company or the doctor specifically to help the member understand. There's many discounts that are balled in with the plan. Has anybody used any of them in the past? So memberships for the gyms, that's out there, but it's getting that member information out. We're not getting, there's so much information on the websites that we're not actually using it. We just kind of skate over it. And these wellness committees or these wellness platforms can help you get that message out there. So all of these local gyms, many of your insurance companies have already negotiated a discount rate that you as a company could help push and keep in front of the employees to say, we're focused on wellness, here's one of these opportunities right out of the gate. And that can also be for meal plans, for devices such as a pedometer, Fitbit, etc. So again, these are all free items. The carrier app, a lot of the carrier apps have wellness specific information that's out there. I would just take a second to look at what is available. Smoking cessation. How much success have we seen with smoking cessation? Anybody? It's huge. It's huge. They are reaching, the insurer or the TPA are reaching directly out to your members to let them know about Chantix and all of these different areas. And the health risk assessment, this is a questionnaire that's completed by the member. It is private from the employer. The employer, in most cases, only knows aggregate data of how many people completed that HRA, that health risk assessment. But the health risk assessment is done, and the results are given back to the employee, and they typically ask multiple areas of stress, diet, fitness, overall health, and then based on their answers, it generates results back to them to give them ideas on stress relief, dietary plans, etc. So it's another good little first step. There's also health coaching, which goes right along with the initial call with the diagnosis of a major issue, so that health coach can connect with those members and help them walk through. You know, we always lean to our family and friends. Well, my family and friends are not doctors. If I have something going on, I want to talk either to my doctor or I can talk to that health coach and get another really good resource. The teledoc and online, I'm just going to touch on this for a moment. This is really cutting edge. All of the carriers are really promoting this. The teledoc is a way that you can bypass claims, which is financial wellness, of using a situation that's so low cost that I know I have a cold, they're going to ask me for my temperature, they're going to ask me what's happening, and then they can prescribe a medication right over the phone, call it into Walmart. It saves me time, it saves the plan itself overall cost. So I would promote teledoc and look at your options within your current vendor right now. Based on your size and the partner that you're with in terms of the insurance, there can be lunch and learns. They'll have dietary seminars, they'll have fitness seminars, 30 to 45-minute bites that are really nice. It's low key, it's there for ideas. And then plan designs. We can build a plan design that pushes wellness right to the front. There are two different types. There's results-based and there's participatory. Try to say that 3 times fast. Results-based are kind of disappearing. So that means that if my BMI is over 30, if my blood pressure is over X, Y, and Z, and all of this, that I am instantly knocked into a lower category of benefits. I don't like those plans because immediately we put somebody in the corner, and those are the individuals that we really want to help. With a participatory plan, it's saying, if your BMI is over 30, we've got options for you, and as long as you participate and try and make these attempts and follow up, that you are rewarded. We'll talk about this right now. So this is a classic example of a participatory plan. I have many, many clients that have used these for many years. Anybody in the room using these today? So how this works, it's one solid plan design. The employer is paying the same premium, the single, double, and family rate, no matter if I participate or not. On the left column is the enhanced benefit. And everyone starts out, there's a few different designs of this plan within carriers, but everyone starts out on this enhanced level. And the goal is, in the first 90 days, we do a couple of different items. Health risk assessment, we take a screening, we do that questionnaire, the results come back to me. There's no pass or fail, it's just, did you complete it or not? And it's giving me ideas, etc. on sleep, stress, diet, exercise. The second piece is seeing a doctor within the first 90 days. And when you see the doctor, they're testing you on a couple of different things. BMI, blood pressure, cholesterol, glucose, depression, and smoking. And in all of those areas, so if my blood pressure is high, they're going to prescribe a medication. The whole goal is, then moving forward, am I taking the medication? The doctor communicates the script, the insurer sees the script is filled, and as long as I am taking that medication as prescribed, I stay in the enhanced level. If my BMI is over 30 in this example, I get a free pedometer and I walk 5,000 steps a day. Anyone have any idea what the average steps you walk per day?
Maybe 500.
That is a great number. Kudos to you. The goal under this plan is 5,000 steps. Now, most people don't even know what their step count is. My personal goal is 10,000 steps a day, and that is hard to do, especially when I'm driving, I'm riding a desk for the day. You really have to work hard to get 10,000 steps. But most of these plans have a very low-level goal of 5,000 steps. It's really interesting to me when you start to do a step counting. Have employees guess. You know, it's almost like looking at the bowl and how many jelly beans are in there. The numbers are way off. And when they think about how many steps that they're actually taking, it's a lot more than they'd ever understand. So, under this example, BMI is over 30, you get a free pedometer. As long as you walk 5,000 steps on average per day for a 7-day window, you pass. It doesn't matter if your BMI is actually 40. So it's getting the action going, getting the patterns going. If I ride a desk at my normal job, and I meet some, like CPAs for example, they're never able to get away. They're on the phone in appointments, etc., especially during this crunch of tax time, which we can make it up over the weekends. We can maybe at night do a little bit, just walk a mile, just doing something that's creating a routine. That's the whole goal. The basis of this plan, so some of us are motivated by, I want to live longer. Some of us are motivated by finance, that's me. So if it's going to affect my pocketbook, I look at this a little closer. Yeah, I want to live longer and have a great life and retire and all that, but when I start to look at it, in this example, the employee is going to pay the same contribution. Let's say it's $40 per pay for a single. If I'm paying $40 per pay to be in this plan, do I want to have a $500 deductible or $1,000? And the employer is paying the same amount. The employer, why I love this plan as a first step is because the employer is not involved at all. This is just a regular health choice that you are indicating, and the carrier is taking over everything for you. This example is an HMO plan. If you compare it against a $1,000 deductible standard plan, it's about a 7 to 9% difference, decrease. So it's a win-win. If I don't do something, if I am that employee that says, Brad, I don't care. My BMI is over 30, I am not walking. And if I smoke, I am not going to try smoking cessation, that's fine. That employee then would have the $1,000 deductible. The employer has no idea. It's their choice. What we see happen is after we've been in this plan for a couple of years, it's very, very common to have over 95% in the enhanced benefit because it's key about trying. And in the initial presentation, when we roll out something like this, I am well prepared and telling the employer to be ready. You are going to have 1 or 2 people to say, I don't care, you're not getting involved. But after a while, just like my initial reaction, being introduced to something like that, no one's going to tell me what to eat or what to do or what to exercise. You have that reaction, it just happens, at least for me. I thought of 1984 Big Brother. But I love this type of design because as the employer, we're here to sell and manufacture widgets or whatever that is. But this puts it in the forefront immediately. The results are confidential, so no one knows. The only way that you'd know is if an employee presented an explanation of benefits to you and you saw the deductible amount on it. Even if you call the carrier, they do not release this to the employer. The other interesting question, when I first started presenting this, when you go to the dentist and you get a cleaning, you make the next appointment right there, right? Why don't we do that with our physicals? We don't. This actually encourages it because every renewal, so we roll this out 6/1 for example, we have 90 days to get a physical. The renewal comes up in 6/1 of 2020, you got 90 days to get another physical. Suddenly, we're now in a pattern that I even noticed myself that I would go 12 months, 15 months, 18 months. Suddenly I'm getting a call from the office, Brad, you didn't have a physical. So that's an interesting thing that it's not brought up, and they don't understand it. It's lost money for the physician as well. It should be a standard 12-month item. Any questions on this? Then we start to branch off. So we always think about the activity and the diets, but wellness also can hit so many other areas. So there's emotional wellness, there's stress, there's family problems, substance abuse, grief, and psychological disorders. I had a call yesterday with an employee at a manufacturing plant that they are dealing with substance abuse and emotional problems, and they don't know what to do. Employers forget about this. On your long-term disability plan and or your life insurance plan, you most commonly have an employee assistance program that is tied to it that is at no cost. The employees can call that 800 number and receive help from all of these different items. It's very common that when we have a situation like this, that we lean on our family and friends, co-workers, etc. But do they tell us honestly what we need to hear sometimes? No. They tell us what we think we want to hear, and they could be trying to protect us. So one of my big other pushes is making sure that employees understand what this is for, and that it's out there, and that it's no cost to them. They can call, and that it's confidential. So if they have a family problem, like my client yesterday, a serious substance abuse problem and wants help, knows that he needs help and he's concerned, this is a great outlet. Now, this is a free program typically with your ancillary carrier. The next piece, there are limits to a free EAP, and I'm going to invite Paul, one of my good friends who represents a full EAP, and he's going to talk quickly about the difference between the two.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Everybody hear me okay? Usually I have a pretty big voice, so I normally don't have a problem with that. So, thanks Sterling Insurance Group, thanks Brad for inviting me out here. I'm up here to just talk about the differences of an EAP, a free EAP, and a robust EAP. So, no sales pitch here at all. So can I take a measure of the room real quick? How many people here have a free EAP? Right. How many people have a more robust EAP? One person. How many have none? Nothing. Right. And then the last two other questions. How many of you are fully insured? And how many are self-funded? Okay. All right, so one of the things that we talk about when you talk about a free EAP, I will always tell you, something is better than nothing. Okay, so what Brad was talking about, giving that opportunity for an employee to come to an HR department and say, I'm dealing with something. I remember 6 months ago during open enrollment, you guys talked about this EAP system plan. Can I have some information? I'm dealing with the death of my father. I'm dealing with nasty divorce, whatever it may be. So something is better than nothing. So big factor here is the number of counseling sessions. So a robust EAP program is going to give you a number of visits. It could be 1 to 5, it could be 1 to 8, 1 to 10. So it varies. Person in the back, if you mind sharing, how many visits do you get with your robust EAP program that you have that's not embedded in a life and disability care? Total. So you get 5 visits. 5 visits. Is it per issue or is it per year? Per issue. So EAPs will often now run per issue. So if you're dealing with a nasty divorce at the beginning of the year, that's 5 visits. If 6 months later you're dealing with the death of a family member, that's another 5 visits for that particular issue. An embedded or free EAP is going to be a fixed sessions. Usually they're 1 to 3. All right, so your employee might be dealing with a nasty divorce. They're going to call the EAP. They're going to get 3 either telephonic, oftentimes, sometimes even in person, but they're going to have 3 visits for that particular issue, and then beyond 3, that counselor will then refer to your health plan. Next, utilization. So the average utilization for a robust EAP program is 3 to 5% national. For embedded free EAPs, it's less than 1%. Oftentimes that is attributed to lack of communication, lack of dripping the information throughout the year. Brad made a point of saying, you know, for the physical wellness component, you have to take this information and kind of put it in the employee's face throughout the year, whether it be a newsletter or maybe there are challenges, whatever it may be, you have to just do this throughout the year. It can't be at open enrollment and good luck, hopefully you have a great wellness year, you know, lose those 10 pounds you're looking for, or maybe you're going to be mentally well. It's about dripping the information. So the embedded EAP programs are generally going to have low utilization because they're not advertising it. It's free. It's with your life and disability. We don't necessarily want you to use it because it's free. Where the utilization is attributed to 3 to 5% in national robust companies because they're marketing it. They're telling your employees at open enrollment. They're coming to the health fairs. They're coming to situations where, unfortunately, you may have what we call a CISD. I'll talk a little bit about that. But they're coming on site, so there's more awareness about the program, and there's more literature to pass out. Dedicated account managers. Do you have, I'm sorry I'm picking on you, you're the only one, but do you have a dedicated account manager with your EAP program? So That's a differentiator. You know, your free EAP with your life and disability carrier, they're not going to assign you a dedicated account manager. You're going to have an 800 number likely, so if something were to happen, you all know the drill. You call the 800 number and you say, this is what happened, we need some help, we have your EAP, and they'll give you that provided information. The robust EAPs are going to have that dedicated account manager. I like to say they become an extension of your HR department, because you can call them for, I say this in a kind of funny way, but you can call them because, hey, we have an employee, he's worked here for 3 years, he's great, but he hasn't been paying attention to his hygiene, and people are starting to complain. That actually happens. We get calls about that all the time. Because as an HR individual or as a manager or supervisor, you want to handle that delicately. You don't want to publicly call out Paul and say, hey, Paul, did you shower today? In front of everybody, right? So you want to handle it delicately. You want to take them into a room and approach it. With a free embedded EAP, you don't have access to that account manager. Next, human resources consultation. I kind of jumped ahead. That's where your embedded EAPs, they're not going to give you that resource. You don't have an extension to your HR department because they don't have anybody there to answer it. It's really just about the issues that your employees are going to call for, where most of your robust EAPs are going to have either a set number of hours or a set number of calls that you can have per year, where your supervisors and managers or HR departments can call and say, X, Y, and Z is happening. Can you please advise? Do you have any other clients that are going through this, and what did they do? One-on-one coaching. So going back to what Brad was talking about, the wellness factor, is that your employees sometimes will talk to their loved ones, they'll talk to their friends, they'll maybe even talk to their clergy about something that's going on, but are they always getting the honest answer that they need? Sometimes no. Some people also are very private. They don't want their friends to know or their coworkers to know they're going through a nasty divorce. You know, everything looks great on the outside. I come into work, I do my job, I go home and I'm dealing with the nasty divorce, the kids, and so on and so forth. But it always leads back to what Brad was talking about earlier, and that is presenteeism. You know, it's a new buzzword, well, not that new, but it's a buzzword that we've been using, and that presenteeism exists. People come into work and they're distracted. You know, I'm in a situation, I like to use myself as an example. My parents live in Florida. All my siblings live in different states. I'm in Michigan, 2 in Missouri, 1 in Kansas, 1 in Texas, 3 in Southern California. We know at some point in time when mom and dad they're getting up there, if something were to happen, we have to deal with our aging parents. How do we deal with that? So if I'm not going to work and I'm thinking about dad passed away, what are we going to do with mom? What are we going to do with the estate? I'm named the executor. How do we handle that? So I'm going to work, but how involved and how am I really there? Am I really there? And anybody in manufacturing, people get distracted at work, they get hurt, right? Maybe sometimes even worse. There's a fatality. So your free EAP, though a resource, may not have that coaching to help that employee through whatever they're dealing with. Where your robust EAP has that opportunity. To Brad's point on the wellness side, this is all HIPAA protected. And that's a very important message that you want to get out to your employees. Whenever you call, I'm not going to get a report that says Paul Sherwood is going through a nasty divorce and HR is going to get that across their desk after the end of the quarter. So it's totally HIPAA protected. And yes, my wife loves when I use us as examples. And we're happy there. So promotion. So you may get, so those of you who have free EAPs, raise your hands again, please. So are you guys getting free promotional materials from your vendor, your life and disability carrier to pass out? Probably in the lunchroom, but really not a ton of information, and it's usually at open enrollment, right? They send you a packet. You guys renewed with, I'm just gonna throw Lincoln Financial out there, and here's your stuff, put it in the lunchroom, here's a set of cards and magnets maybe, and you know, go off and have a good year. Where your robust EAP is going to drip that information throughout the year. That's a common theme, I think, with wellness as well as EAPs, is that's the idea, is that you're going to have to have that information throughout the year because, quite frankly, in EAP, we're a reactionary business, right? I'm humming along, life is great, and then I'm served divorce papers, or there's a death in the family, or we hit financial crisis as a family. And that's when you need us. That's when you need and call an EAP is when it hits the fan. Affiliate provider networks. Most embedded EAPs are going to have a limited network where your robust is going to be more robust. It's going to be a bigger network, more options. So I talked earlier about critical incident stress debriefings, or what we call CISDs in the industry. So the manufacturing folks in the back. You guys have high-low drivers? I don't know why it's always high-low drivers, but something happens at a plant, right? Somebody's driving a high-low, not paying attention because they're distracted, maybe going through a nasty divorce or financial issue, and they clip a part of, a storage unit in the factory, and that comes tumbling down. That falls on them. There's no fatality, but they're seriously hurt. And while this is happening, there's another 50 or 60 employees who saw it all happen. And they'll tell you it looked like it was the Matrix, everything was in slow motion. I saw him tip over and hit it. And so everybody's traumatized, right? So your embedded EAP will offer the ability to go out and handle that CISD for you, but it won't be free because the free EAP doesn't cover that. What they'll likely tell you is that we could send a counselor out at $400 an hour, a minimum of 4 hours, plus travel costs. And oh, by the way, we're headquartered in Texas. You guys are here in Michigan, so what are those costs going to add up to? So your embedded EAP could cost you a few $1,000s for that specific incident. More robust EAPs, they're going to include those CISDs. Now, certain EAPs will say you get 20 hours per year for training and management consultations as well as CISDs. Others will say it's unlimited. So it varies on the vendor, but you have a more robust program with those CISDs. And if you are in an accident-prone, unfortunately, industry, or things happen, banks are another one. We have another number of banks and/or credit unions, and they're robbed at gunpoint. People who have a form of PTSD. So those CISDs would be covered. And then last but not least is reporting. So your embedded free EAPs, you may get reporting once a year if you ask for it. Your more robust EAPs are going to provide those probably quarterly, and then your dedicated account manager is going to review those with you quarterly. And to Brad's point about knowing your employee population, I always like to say that those reports become a pulse of what's going on in your company. So yes, you may be only getting 5%, 10% utilization, in some cases up into the high teens or 20% utilization on your robust EAP, but it gives you a sense of what's going on. So if you are seeing a report that tells you, oddly enough, right around November, December, you get 20% of your population calling about financial issues because it's the holidays, you now have a pulse of where your employee population, their mindset is. So maybe you call your 401k provider and say, you know what, every year, sure enough, we see the report from the EAP, people are stressed out about finances. So can we have a lunch and learn, to Brad's point, a lunch and learn from the, it's free because the 401k provider wants people to be engaged and putting money in their 401k. So they're gonna come in and do a lunch and learn for the employees. And your employees, you're not singling out anybody and saying, oh, I saw Brad is on that report, Paul's on that report, Joan, you're on that report as well. Newly married, and that gets stressed out about finances.
Hey,
I don't know.
check in with me. We'll find
But
out.
that's an opportunity for you as a organization to say, what's going on with 20% of my population, maybe 10% of my population? Do I cater plans or lunch and learns or events to those, right? So it may not be a whole picture of the organization, but it's a really good indicator. So that's kind of EAP 101. It's very high level. It's more like a 1,000-foot view. I do have some handouts in the back. It's really just about national surveys on mental health. So it's nothing to do with EAPs, but it's some startling numbers. And I'll pass them on after I'm done. But any questions, any comments, any stories? I seem to always get a story of, oh, well, yeah, I called my EAP and they were helpful because we had an accident, you know. The high-low drivers get picked on, but I always hear about it in manufacturing. It's always about a high-low driver. Anything. Well, thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Thanks, Brad.
Yeah, the homework assignment that I would beg you to do is if you haven't called an EAP, please call it yourself. Even if you don't have an issue, take one that an employee has talked about with you and just use that experience. I used it myself. The shoemaker's kids can't be shoeless. Try it out. It's amazing what they can do. And then instead of like the call I got yesterday from Human Resource and the employee together, they can contact EAP directly. It's fantastic. So now let's shift gears on what the employer can do. And there's a lot of different options. So in terms of employer-focused wellness, the first one is an easy one, is with the physical. So you can make a premium differentiation where if you said, if you get a physical within the first 90 days, we will change your contribution by 30%. So if you're paying $40 today, you're going to drop that to $28. You will see people do that. Now, there's a little bit of caution. There is AARP issued a suit to EEOC regarding these contributions. So the regulations on the rewards have been revoked. The government the EEOC is working on guidelines. Just keep that in the back of your mind. But you can differentiate premiums by 30% based on a physical. There's no pass or fail. We use a standard form that the employees take to their doctor, and the doctor just acknowledges, yes, Brad had a physical on November 4th. Done. Not that I had a problem with this, that, or that I completed the physical. The whole goal is to get in there. Why? Because we see too many situations where individuals go year after year without a physical, and then we have a major heart attack. Or another situation, we had an employee that was falling asleep on the job. Great worker, falling asleep on the job all of a sudden. Work went into the toilet. Had a forced physical and found out that the diabetes was absolutely out of control and just was not going to the doctor. That's what this is trying to catch. So with our open enrollment meetings, we can absolutely work in that information regarding our wellness message. It's kind of cool because at Sterling, we actually do on-site exercise and massage. So trying to make opportunities available that are right there, that it's even less of an excuse that I don't have to drive somewhere. I don't have to get up early. I can go right in here. So if it's applicable at your facility, that can also be a great option. I love walking meetings. They're not always feasible, but when you're brainstorming and you're just talking through a situation, if you can walk around the block, I don't know, I just feel so much better than being cooped up in an office, and it kind of lets you kind of free your mind. A lot of partners that take advantage of flu shots. So under the passes of ACA, that flu shot is covered 100% under your health plan, right? Coordinate with the carrier that you're using and have it on site. They will actually work with you if you have a minimum number of people, it's typically around 20, that they will come in and dispense flu shots at no cost and bill the insurance company. Now that is for the ones that are covered under your plan. You then can open it up to any employee that you have working, and the employer typically pays the cost of that for those that are not insured under the program. But a great way of just getting it out there. And again, it's voluntary. So for those that don't believe in a flu shot, amen. We're just trying to make it accessible for those that are. Education pieces. There are so many things out there, and I love Paul used drip. That's exactly what it is. We want to just keep dripping things in front of them. So as silly as it sounds, we have information all over our bathroom stalls and walls and break rooms, and we change it every 30 days. You know what, I've read all of it. you're there, you might as well read something. It's a great way of staying informed. Yeah. Hey, might as well get me to blush once. Healthy food options. There's nothing better. You say, hey, I'm throwing pizza lunch. I am there. You know, it reminds me of school. But if we have healthier options, having soup and salad, kind of changing it up, not going drastic, but changing and making better options available can be a big move as well. Here's where we get into the challenges. This is the part that I really get excited about because you see some of the competition come up. There's a lot of things you can do. So as an office, we just did Biggest Loser. We had probably 25 people participate, which is good overall. And it got pretty fierce. I'm not going to go drastic, but I'm going to participate. So you can do little things like this, and this was endorsed by the company. There were 0 incentives. There was no money. But that camaraderie that happened, that when we weigh in each week, we're kind of supporting each other, and it's very, very common that we fall on our face. You know, it was a holiday, we had a big meal, whatever it is, but it's that person that you're with that's kind of dragging you back up, that's saying, let's do it too. We screwed up yesterday, Brad, but we're gonna do it today. Let's get back on track. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. Biggest Loser is a good one. Step counting is an easy one to start. This is so nice. So the little pedometers, the cheapies, are so cheap. $1.50, $1 a piece, that you can provide those for employees. Now many might already have a Fitbit. Got mine in my pocket. I am so cranky when the thing dies and I forget and I lose my steps. It becomes a pattern. So with step counting, I like it because, you know, yes, I run, but what we're trying to do is get everyone involved. We're not really targeting me. I already have patterns. You know, I like to do certain things. I've created this routine over many, many years. We're trying to get the people that are not doing anything. So by doing step counting, to your point, you do your numbers. That's fantastic. So 8,500, whatever that was. We're trying to get people to be cognizant of what we're doing and creating that pattern, that goal, that daily goal, at least 5,000, at least. And if we're not doing it, we're looking and you know we're gonna walk, we're gonna have a walking meeting. Exercise tracked by minute is also a good one because I might like to run, Laura likes to do yoga. Everyone's doing different things, so we could report. I've seen a situation where we have a shared spreadsheet that everyone is self-reporting. It's on the honor system, and we're reporting. I was 30 minutes in the gym this morning, and you're just adding that up cumulatively. So if we're walking, running, any type of exercise, it's just tracking those things. What we don't want to do is create a situation where that top performer is just going in there and throwing mega numbers in, and it's turning everybody away that's never done anything. So we have to try to create a competition that is feasible, that we're not just going to have this one big winner that we know is going to win. You know, that's all they do. They have no life, they have no kids, etc. They want to win that prize, and that is not good. It's not healthy. We want to get going as a group. So it's really getting the attraction.
I just wanted to add, if you wanted to try to increase that number of people willing to get into those, weight loss Biggest Loser programs, I've seen very effectively a lot of organizations do that by creating teams. So you're not alone, Brett, but there's 15 people involved in this. We have 5 sets of 3. How much does the team win or lose or whatever? And as a result of that, it's now the 3 of us against all of you. Sorry, but we're going to beat you.
It's a perfect segue.
So go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's perfect, and that's actually where we're going next. So individual goals are good, but I love team goals, and it could be an office goal. It could be anything because, and we try to maybe when we're first starting out is looking at those individuals and saying, here's our A's. And these are those top performers, and try to seed in A. Now this is where it gets interesting for everyone in HR. This can help you build culture. You know what, I don't work, let's say Chris and I don't work very closely together, but Chris is now on my team. And I'm talking with him every week. Do you know what happens? We're now talking about wellness, and suddenly we're learning more things about each other that we can help each other inside the company. For those of you that have other offices, purposely try to connect people that might not ever talk, and that helps your culture. Suddenly you guys have so many resources spread all over the place from a silly little wellness plan. I've seen it happen. It doesn't happen all the time, but I've seen it really happen and create long-lasting relationships. That happened just with our little one here. I met many, many people in the building. It's really interesting how you can become so small inside a large organization. But to your point, teams are pivotal, because then that makes the goal accessible. If I go and post monster numbers because I ran all weekend long, suddenly you're not behind. You've got the rest of the team with you, and you can come together and say, you know, we're going to kick his butt. We're going to go out and do more. So, you know, definitely I would always use teams. With step counting, one of the things that make it fun that we've done in the past is set a target. So let's say we have multiple offices. We have one in California, we have one in Michigan. We're going to actually track all of our steps as a team. Where are we at starting in Michigan, and we're racing to California? And who can get there first? And I've seen it done. So we talked about doing it in the newsletters. That's a heck of an update. We've now crossed through Ohio, we're into this, and show pictures of the landmark. Now I'll throw my guitar cards out on the table. I've often thought, well, what if we did like J.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings? We're going to march to Mordor and throw the ring into the mountain. Okay, I just lost you. So you can do fun little things like that and show pictures of where that progress is. And when you do it on a weekly basis, it's reminding people that you have the ability to continue. It's not like Paul said, here's our big message. We'll see you in 12 months and see how you did. No, it's propping everybody up. We're all winning in the end, which everyone seems to realize after a moment of playing around with it. Pretty much covered everything on here. Any questions on that information? What you'll notice happen is people start to they rise to the top, and you have a champion. Andrea was a recent champion of our office. I don't think she even knew it. It was really interesting for me to watch, to see somebody naturally take over. She is not HR. She just took over the tournament and ran the show and helped praise everybody. You're looking for those champions. So as you're rolling out these different programs, look at who your performers are and bring them into the fold. Ask them what is working, what is not working, what do you want to see happen? You know, if we could do something, what would you want? The world's your oyster. Incentives, rewards, recognition. What can you do? And then try to build off of that. If possible, I would try to pick multiple champions if you can, because they can burn out. You know, it takes a lot of energy to do. So, you know, look for that champion. The champion should not be human resource. It might have to be at the start, but it shouldn't stay that way. And I would also encourage you, do not have one of the executives be the champion, because then there's an undue pressure that they feel like, if I'm not doing this, is this going to affect everything else? Keep it as clean as possible. The executives should participate, but not lead it.
Brad, I even say having your champions in different departments, so cross-departmental champions, because then, you know, each department is to feel like they have a voice at the wellness table,
yep,
and have a voice of an understanding of what that department has to go through. So if you're developing a wellness challenge, that champion that's coming from the manufacturing plant can say, well, that doesn't work for us because we don't get that type of time, but if we did this, that would work. So,
absolutely.
You know, I would suggest that.
Yeah, for sure. Another way we can go is the carrier apps and wellness apps. There's a lot of them out there. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. Just take a look and play around with a couple. In terms of dietary, here's a lot of really popular ones. I used Fuji Cake. Really neat app, easy. These are all free that we've listed. And you're going to have an email with these slides as well, so you don't have to frantically write. In terms of wellness, the fitness side, there's a lot of great ones. Couch to 5K is amazing. It's very, very easy in terms of small little goals. But again, I'm a nutball that runs. Map My Run is a good one. There's Map My Walk. So there's a lot of different activities that you can try. Just keep trying different ones. You're going to find the ones that you like. Then we get into the devices, and this is a screenshot from Fitbit. There's a lot of them that you might even have already on your phone that you can utilize, but it just requires you to have your phone on you constantly. I think this is really important because as we've talked, I'm looking at that daily mark. I know what my activities need to be, so it's just getting that target, knowing my numbers. That's the first piece. In many cases, your carrier has already negotiated discounted rates with these vendors directly. Again, get that information out to the employees. Here's a discounted Fitbit, etc. Then we get to the big stuff. So you've done the walking sprees, you've done all these different weight loss programs. We are getting a lot of success as a company. Now we want to throw money at it. At that point, this is where you would get into a more heavy commitment, and that's where we would do like a biometric screening, have an on-site doctor right there at the facility. Another program that's interesting is a rewards-based. So it is incentivizing the employees when they do their physical, when they do seminars online, different type of certifications online. They're small little snippet classes, all aimed at the wellness side, that they actually earn points. And that they can go in and redeem them for Amazon, like full breadth of different things, because we all have different wants. Is it a motorcycle? Is it books? Is it whatever? You can put that as your reward because we all have different things that we would work towards, especially if we can do it through a wellness activity and cost us nothing. So I'm always hesitant, again, to kind of go back to the beginning, to dump money into this immediately. Start with the free things and see what's working, because when we consider, so with the show of hands, the majority was fully insured. We had one self-funded. With self-funded, when we're spending on the biometrics or the reward program, that's going to add a significant amount of additional cost to the program. Are we going to be able to report back to the C-suite to say, we recouped X amount back? We spent $20,000, and I think we might have saved $30,000. It's a really tough number to track, and that's why I don't want to go backwards. When we're fully insured, our rates, depending upon your company size, is blended with the rest of the pool. So for those investments that you're making, it's very hard to track those as well. So just, I'm cautious to jump right into something like this. There's so many places to start, so many ways. It's not one size fits all. It's just trying different things, seeing what's happening, grooming those champions, involving them in the decision, trying to get them to move it, and then continuing to present that to the C-suite, to the leadership, to keep their endorsement in doing this. We've talked about the saving, so again, we're reducing absenteeism, presenteeism. We're diagnosing items earlier. That is one of the keys. That is huge. And we're reducing a lot of medical usage, especially prescriptions. So if we're getting activity, you will see, you might not hear about it, but in terms of your claims reports, if you're receiving it, if you're getting people out and active, you will see the diabetes medications drop down, the cholesterol, the blood pressure, etc., just from physical activity. There's a lot of hurdles that you have to be cognizant of. So it's sustaining that champion. It can be the locations of where you're at. Maintaining the interest. It's easy to get burned out. If they're not into it, they're not into it. You can't force it. So you have to kind of go back after each activity and see what is working. those small habits, creating a pattern instead of trying to get someone to change overnight. And then it's tracking that ROI is so tough. So really my whole message is just take that first step. And the first step you might fall, but it's looking at it, assessing it, analyzing, taking that next step. I appreciate everyone's time today. Is there any questions that Paul or I can help with? Let's get on to it.